What's up guys, welcome, it's Sam from FreeRun. We are here with episode 1 of Ask FreeRun. Now the first episode we're going to address is one of those questions that we're probably asked most often, and that is, how do you become a pro freerunner? So first of all, we've got to take a look at what is a professional. Now, definition wise, a professional is someone that's engaged in a specific activity that is paid rather than it being a hobby. So taking that one step further, that's the whole premise and idea that this activity or this occupation is paying for your living. So bills, food, house, everything paid for by this activity, right? So there's a number of different ways that you can become a professional in freerunning. Very briefly, just looking at those top line, you've got becoming a sponsored athlete, becoming a coach, you could become a competitor, you could become a performer, or we'd box that in with entertainment, or you can look at, these days you can become a YouTube / social media, vlogger, blogger, or influencer as it's kind of become known as now. You could join an existing freerunning company that's out there, you could set up your own company. Essentially, they are the main different categories of what you could do to become a professional freerunner. Now, you could tick one of those boxes or you could tick a bunch of them. And the benefit nowadays is that this is constantly evolving. Like when freerun first started, 2002, 2003, most, if not all of these didn't even exist. So I would argue now there's more opportunity than there ever has been. Of course, there's now more freerunners and more people doing parkour than there ever has been as well. So you then need to start thinking about what you can do to differentiate yourself, to make yourself stand out from the others. In business, we would call this something of a USP, a unique selling point. And the purpose of that is to make you special, make you different to what everyone else is doing, and allow you to stand out and allow you to be more employable than the other people out there that are doing it. So, how do you do that? Now, the first thing that I always say to people when they approach me and say, what do I need to get started as a professional? You need to decide which route you want to go down first. So we just looked at a bunch of different options. There's no good saying that you want to become a coach and then spending all of your time developing your Instagram. It's all well and good, but it's not specific to where you want to go. And this is the thing right now with freerunning, where it's become so many different facets and there's so many different opportunities, it can become a bit blurred. It's very easy to spend a lot of time trying to do one thing and neglecting the skills that you need to be developing to become what it is that you actually want to do. This is what we're dealing with. Really? Nobody's going to take note of someone that wants to become a sponsored athlete if they don't have a solid foundation of parkour skill to back that up. And this is the thing, we receive, FreeRun would receive emails, Facebook messages, social media DMs daily from people saying, how do I become a sponsored athlete? I want to become a sponsored athlete. And they'll send in a video, and it's difficult because you don't want to be disrespectful to anyone, but people need to understand that there's a certain level that they need to bring to the table, and equally, if you're going to ask for something from someone, you need to know what you're bringing to add value to them as well. It's the same as anything, any transaction, you're not just going to get something for free, you need to have something in return. So, classic in terms of the sponsored athletes option is the easiest thing to look at is what's someone's social media following. Any company that might sponsor an athlete, it's going to look a whole lot better to them if they've got hundreds of thousands of followers on their social media platforms, because then there's something to be given in exchange. So think about where you want to go, what you want to become within freerunning, and then start tackling those specific issues with a foundation level that you have a solid base of skill to come from. So now, what I always say to people again, it doesn't matter if you want to become a sponsored athlete, a coach, a competitor, perform in the entertainment industry, all of those, you need to have some certain foundation level things. So whenever I was going to go for a job, I would need to have a CV or a resume, i.e. a biography about myself, and some experience to show that I have done things in the past. And it could be, in real life terms, it could be as simple as I worked at a corner shop. So in free running, you need to think ahead. Like, if you don't have any performance experience, how can you create performance experience without having to book jobs? So for example, you could go and perform at birthday parties, or if there's a local gymnasium, you could do a showcase. There's loads of creative ways that you can develop this experience without necessarily having to get booked by some huge company on your first job. So get your resume, get your CV, get your biography. How long have you been training? Your experience, your skills, what you're known for, your specialities. That's going to be your written CV, or that's your resume. Then off the back of that, you need to have certain things such as photos. A good headshot. A headshot is needed for 99% of jobs when it comes to things like performances and so forth. So you need to have a headshot. You need to have some action shots, some photos of you doing some flips, some free running, some parkour, whatever. And also you need to have a show reel. Your show reel is your resume these days. You need to be able to say, look, here's my skills, and watch this video and you will see how good I am. Now, there's no excuses to that. We've all got cameras, we've all got phones, we've all got that. There is always a way. If you're creative enough, there is always a way for you to get footage, and if you have to, teach yourself to edit something up. But they are the foundation things that you need for becoming a professional free runner. Then if we looked at the specific categories, sponsored athlete. There's not many companies out there that are prepared to sponsor athletes. So there are a lot of different ways, and you could approach these companies independently if you wanted to. If you had a big enough social media following and you've got nice headshots, photos, video, and you approach a company and you say, look, will you sponsor me? In return, as you can see, I have hundreds of thousands of people looking at my content. I'll be able to promote you, and it works both ways. It's a mutual relationship. That gives you something to base your proposition on. The other thing with sponsors is obviously free running companies. Now, free running companies, typically, this is where we're at in Parkour and Free Running today in 2017. I don't know when you're watching this video, but right now, free running has never been bigger, but it's still not massive. There's still not many, household name brands that are attaching themselves to our sport yet. So free running companies are filling that void, but of course they don't have the kind of money that Microsoft has, or any other huge company has. So you've also got to appreciate that by getting sponsored by a free running company probably isn't going to make you a professional. It's probably not going to pay you enough money to be able to call yourself a professional, a full-time free runner. So you need to think smart about that, but it's a step in the right direction, because with that it gives you credibility. It then allows you to go out to things and say, well, I'm backed by this free running company who are even more well known than myself, and that gives you credibility and a basis to work from. Okay, so that looks at sponsors, but again, foundation stuff, a show reel, headshots, action shots, be able to propose what you are going to be able to give to a company in return for this sponsorship. Next, coaching. Again, you weren't able to become a free running coach when free run started in 03, 02, those times, but now there's so many free running centers, and you could even set up your own gym. These days it's not that expensive, and I know of people that have essentially built their own stuff and then just got it signed off by a technician or by an insurance company to say, yes, we believe your equipment is safe, you're allowed to coach on it, go get your coaching qualification, and insured, most importantly, to coach and teach. Again, you need to have a foundation level. You can't teach people something if you've no idea how to do it yourself. So it always goes back to that foundation thing of building up your own skill level. But coaching is an option. There's loads and loads of places that you can coach. Again, approach them with what you have, with what you can offer, have your qualification in place, and you can start your class. Many gymnastics centres these days that don't even have a parkour class at the moment will be open to it, because it can bring more people into their centre. So you could actually propose starting a class for them. Another great way to start and become a professional free runner. Another option, competitor. These days again, there are now competitions. You've got Red Bull, you've got the WFPF jump off in Vegas. There are domestic competitions around different countries. There's air whip. I know that there's a load that I'm probably missing the names of right now, but again, it will take you 2 seconds to jump online and search parkour competitions. Again, there's not loads of money in it right now, but there's enough, there's something. If you became the best in the world, I'm sure you could clean up 2 grand here, 3 grand there, 5 grand there, and make enough to get by. And as the years roll by and as more companies get involved, more brands get involved in the sport, then more money gets involved, more opportunities come around. And again, there is an opportunity to become a professional athlete through being a competitor. Next would be social media. Now this is a big one because you're seeing a lot of people take their free running stuff, their skill base, and adopting it to another similar thing that's allowing them to be very, very different and attract a large viewership. So for example, you've got a lot of Russian guys, actually that's that's a bit racist really, it's not just Russians at all. There's English guys, there's loads of people that are now becoming what I would coin as like daredevils. But essentially, you know, you've got your people that climb buildings, you've got your people that hang off cranes, anything that's got, I guess, this kind of heart racing fear factor to it, that's still very specialist, because it's not like Joe Bloggs off the street could just go and climb a crane and film it and then come back and live to tell the tale. And whilst I'm not going to sit here and condone people and suggest people go out doing crazy stunts, because you don't have to, you know, you can think outside the box. There's people doing comedy skits, there's people doing adventure kind of travel series, and all the while using their free running skills to create that extra element that attracts viewers and most importantly gets followers to your social media and gets viewers on your videos. And once you've got that, you have a platform where you can market yourself even more. And it translates into the other areas, being sponsored, getting paid by brands in the entertainment and performance elements, but also you can start getting paid by YouTube, by having adverts running on the front of your videos, by Instagram, by companies essentially paying you to post their products whilst you're doing whatever it is that you're doing in your videos. Again, you might fall into the category of no longer being able to say you're specifically a professional free runner, because you might have become a professional daredevil, you might have become something slightly different, but it's the foundations come from your free running, and there's definitely people that are making a living from doing free running as a profession on social media. So the next thing would be what we talked about in terms of being a performer, working in the entertainment industry. Now, it's very, very popular these days where a lot of free runners are becoming stuntmen. Again, I say it's slightly different. You're no longer a professional free runner at that point, you're a professional stuntman if that's what you're doing for a living, in taking that transition and using your free running skills to become a stuntman. How are you promoting yourself goes back to your show reel, your photos, your headshots, your skills. Are you safe? Are you competent? Have you got experience in certain stunts? But free running definitely gives you a good foundation to take that on. Now, performance doesn't have to be in the way of being a stuntman. It could be, you could become the next action actor. Take a look at people like Scott Adkins, even Jason Statham. They've done it through being action orientated. Of course, that's more martial arts based than free running, so to speak. But I mean, Jackie Chan is the godfather of free running, in my opinion. And with his martial arts blend and what he brings to the table, he's obviously gone from being a unknown Chinese stuntman to a very well-known Hollywood actor and action performer. You can then go into events, commercials. There's so many different sort of areas that you can take film, entertainment, industry and performance, and you can definitely travel the world being a professional performer as a free runner. There is a lot of companies, 3Run is one of them, that, you know, send athletes across the globe doing live event performances. Again, there is a profession there, but it all starts with that foundation. What's your show reel like? What's your headshots? What's your experience? How are you going to bring something new to this performance team? And that's the way that I would think. I would never try to imitate what other people are doing specifically, because at the end of the day I'm not offering anything different. So why would they hire me instead of what they've already got when I'm just imitating what they've already got? It's good to follow that path, but think outside the box as to what you can add value to that for. And then finally is the elements of being able to essentially set up your own company. This isn't something that I would necessarily recommend, especially if you don't have a big following, because business, which is what we're talking about here if you're becoming a professional, business is about leverage in many ways. And in order to leverage something, you have to have something in the first place. You have to have a big following. You have to have a solid skill base. You have to have made a name for yourself to be able to leverage that into the success of starting your own company. And it can be a very tough, long, expensive process. Not to say don't do it, but those are the things that you have to prepare yourself for. And it's a very, very different thing to joining an existing entity that's already established and set up and doing those sorts of things. If you want to set up your own company, that's absolutely fine, but do it smart. Do a business plan. Think about how you can do it. A lot of the companies now in free running, obviously FreeRun again is one of them, but there's so many out there now doing clothing lines and so on. And whilst the sport is still quite small and niche, there isn't necessarily the opportunity to make loads and loads of money. It is still pretty exciting right now, because never before, we are at our biggest that freerunning has ever been at. You've got international competitions, people flying around the world doing events, competitions, performances, coaching. It's actually insane when you actually think about it and how quick it's happened. So there's so many opportunities. But equally, you've got to hone that down into specifically what you can offer more than others, where you're going to offer it, and really apply yourself most specifically to that. Now, hopefully that answers the question of how to become a pro free runner. There's still so many areas of it that, I could talk for hours and hours about, but that's a pretty in-depth discussion and talk addressing specifically the different facets and the different options of being a pro free runner, because it's not as simple as one. It could be a case that you're doing all of them, but at the same time, make sure that you put your time and energy in the right places to allow yourself to excel and be something special, have that unique selling point that differentiates you from the rest. Alright guys, so like I said, it's Sam from FreeRun. Thank you for watching. This is Ask FreeRun. As ever, comments down below. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you do. Get the dialogue going. If there's anything that you want to ask in the future for another episode of this, drop it in the comments, tag us, whatever, DM us, and we'll be sure to hit up the most popular questions and answer them as best we can, as quick as we can, and we'll be coming back to you soon. Alright, peace out.